We are live and direct.
Welcome, everyone. You've tuned in to our Friday Plan and Expand powered by Next Step Collective, where we don't just dream, we do. Here at Next Step Collective, we equip leaders with tools to unlock potential in themselves and those they lead so that they can impact individuals, teams, and communities. In September, our last session, we tackled clarity and burnout prevention. Today, we take that next step and we think about how do we manage change strategically and make sure that we do it in a way that we stay balanced and effective. So today, you get to hear from all four members of the Next Step Collective, and we're excited to lean in with you today. And don't forget, in November, we actually have an event, an in-person event in Westerville, Ohio. It's called Renew and Refuel, Avoiding Burnout this holiday season. We'll tell you more about that later. But to get us started, I'm going to hand it off to my friend Kevin.
What's going on, community? I am glad to be here with you today. As she said, all four of us are here, so we're going to have a good time talking with you all today. Today, I want to kind of really just kind of do some framing for us around strategic change. See, change is inevitable, but managing it strategically is what makes the difference. Change feels chaotic when it happens to us, but becomes empowering when we shape how we respond. See, in September, we talked about staying balanced in change, right? October, we're talking about building systems to manage change intentionally. I want to say that again because there's a word in there that I think is so powerful. October, we're talking about building systems to manage change intentionally. We'll give you tools to shift from reacting to change to leading change with clarity. If today is not about managing the process, November is about protecting yourself in the pressure of the holiday season. I'm gonna shoot this over to Nikki now.
Yes, so let's dig in. Let's dig in and let's talk about change management versus change reaction. A little bit different things. And like Kevin said, change is inevitable. Like, wouldn't it be nice if it sent us a little calendar invite and said, let's do this here? But that's not how change works. It shows up, and before we know it, we're fighting fires, we're problem solving, and we're reacting to change. We want to talk about not just reacting, but managing change. It's like going from being on a roller coaster to being the one actually controlling the ride. And so, we all have different instincts when change happens, right? Some of us are like, I'm going to lead it out. Some of us are like, I'm going to follow. Some of us are like, I'm just going to figure it out. Some of us are getting snacks to see how it plays out. Like, we all react differently to change. So let's talk about recognizing if we're reacting or if we are managing. So a couple markers of change reaction. Okay, so these are three ways that you might know that you're reacting and not managing, because we want to manage change. We want to have some say in it. So one marker of change reaction is overwhelm. Just being overwhelmed, that feeling, you guys know it. We've all been there where you're just fighting fires. You're like doing all of these things, constant firefighting, but your mission's not moving forward. It's just fire after fire. And that's that place of overwhelm. And when you're feeling that, you might be reacting to change. Another way to know is passive compliance, which basically means, you go from that place of being curious and thinking about why is this happening and what's going on, and really you're just kind of like, whatever, like, I'm just gonna ride this out. That's kind of that passive compliance place. Then you have a place of misaligned energy. I literally had a day like this the other day where you work hard all day and at the end of it you're like, what did I even do? I'm so exhausted, but I have no idea what just happened today. It was just a crazy day. So if those things are happening, if you're feeling overwhelmed, or if you find yourself being like, whatever, or you're finding that you're working hard and you're exhausted, but you have no idea what you actually did, it could be an indicator that you're reacting to change. And you're not broken. It happens to all of us. But we want to talk about, how do you move to that place of instead of just reacting, how do you move to manage it? Right? How do you get some management over that change? And so here are three kind of quick tips to help with that. These are practical. We're not about doing a bunch of theory and pie in the sky things. Like, these are real things that we hope you can take today and think about how to manage change, how you can be in charge of that roller coaster, so to speak. One is about having clear priorities. Like what really matters? I mentioned that a lot of times in change we feel like we're just fighting fire after fire. And I would challenge us and say that sometimes a controlled burn is actually okay. You don't have to fight every fire as it happens. Sometimes you can let kind of a controlled burn happen so that you can pull back and look at like what really matters right now. Let's prioritize, let's reorient, let's identify those things that really need to have my energy. So that's one, is get clear on your priorities. Another way to move into managing change is to engage other people. Like it's that mindset shift from I'm carrying this to we're carrying this. And you may work in a place where you're on a team and you can ask people on your team to help to carry some of that weight, do that, enlist them. But if you're a solopreneur and you're like, I work by myself, who am I going to engage? Who can you? Do you have a friend who's in the business world? Do you have a neighbor you can ask? A family member? Like find somebody who can help you. So one is get those priorities clear. Two is engage leadership. So go to from I carry to we carry. And then lastly, it's digging into that resilience and figuring out how to adapt to things without losing yourself in it. It's remembering what we value and letting your values be your anchor and not your obstacle. Like let those hold you fast in like what it is that you need to prioritize and what you need to work on. So those are a few quick tips to move from reacting to change to managing change. And even then, the best change managers still have to be really aware of potential kind of pitfalls, potential traps, like just things that we need to be mindful of. And so to help us raise our level of awareness there, G's going to walk us through some pitfalls that can happen when change happens.
That's so good, Nick. I want to stay on what you were talking about for a second, only because you said about, um, sometimes it's fine to have a slow burn. And it like pierced me in my soul. I'm like, for someone who, um, I would say is a reformed control freak, a reformed perfectionist, the desire to make sure the fire's out and everybody's safe, right? Including even myself, that slow burn is disruptive. But also, I can tell you on the other side of watching things burn down that it's all right that I'm still here and that other people are still here. So that was good. So we always remind you to take notes. I hope that you are taking notes. If you haven't been, get out your device. Type if you're listening, while you're driving. Okay, don't write anything. Make sure you remind yourself to go back and listen to it so you can take notes because you're going to want to take notes on a couple of things here. But all right. So Nick said I was going to talk about common pitfalls. Leadership is rarely about knowing what to do. Should I say it again? Leadership is rarely about knowing what to do. It's about remembering to do what matters most when things get busy or complicated. And that's true of even leading yourself. Sometimes we think about leadership only in terms of like leading others, but my boy, John Maxwell, he says the hardest person to lead is ourselves. And so when you think about leadership, also think about leading you. It's remembering to do what matters most when things get busy or complicated. So over the years, we've noticed that even the most well-intentioned, high-capacity leaders tend to fall into the same three traps. All right. So trap number one is unclear communication. Assumptions breed confusion, right? There's that old saying, that old adage about when you assume, what happens? What does that make you? But the reality is assumptions just, they breed confusion. Have you ever said something like, I thought they knew that, or I assumed that they would handle it? That's how it starts, friends. We start assuming or believing that other people think the way that we do, and then we hold them accountable for not doing it. That's irrational. It's irrational. So, when communication isn't clear, people fill in the gaps with their own stories. Clarity isn't about over explaining, it's about alignment. If your team has to guess your priorities, they'll probably get them wrong. You literally are setting everybody up for your disappointment, including yourself. So, say this: if it's important enough to think it, it's important enough to say it. right? Now, I'm talking to people who are my competent leaders who, even when they have maybe not so great thoughts, they know what to edit and what to say and not to say, right? We know that not everything should be said. But if it's important enough to you, if it's a priority to you, if you are literally measuring people's abilities and performance off of this thought, then you probably should say it. So make sure that you are clear with people about your expectations. Trap number two is unrealistic pacing, trying to change everything at once. Listen, there's a reason why there's so many books on change management. I have one right here on my desk right now. I'll show you just so you don't think I'm crazy. Managing transitions, right? There's a reason why there's so much text on change management. It's because there's so many pitfalls, there's so many things that we don't often get right. And it's not about being perfect. It is about having a process or having a way. And so when you have unrealistic pacing, when you're trying to do too much at one time or you're expecting too much of others, it's just not going to work. Most leaders don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're overly ambitious. They try to fix everything everywhere all at once and end up exhausted with nothing truly transformed. Um, I want you to sit with this for a minute. Think of somebody, it might be yourself. So then you can go look in the mirror and hold yourself accountable. But think of somebody in your life who maybe has led you and you were like, I just couldn't keep up. Like I couldn't satiate them, I couldn't produce enough for them, I couldn't perform well enough. There was just always something happening. Now think about what I just said about it's not because leaders are usually lazy, it's usually they're overly ambitious. That's oftentimes why they fail. Were you being led by an overly ambitious leader that maybe also didn't say a lot of things, but held you accountable to those things? At Next Step Collective, we often tell leaders you can do anything, but you can't do everything, and you sure can't do it all at once. You sure can't. So, sustainable change, it requires strategic pacing, one shift at a time, one win at a time. It can be frustrating to go slow, but it's really important to pay attention to what's going on around you and in front of you to make sure that you can lead well. When we worked with a team of school administrators earlier this year, they were trying to overhaul their culture, their communication, and their curriculum. Everything was happening all at one time. We helped them slow down, name one measurable priority, and build a 90-day rhythm around it. 3 months later, they had an actual traction instead of just burnout. Burnout of the system, burnout of the people, burnout of everything. They had actual traction. And that's what it takes, friends. So go slow, even if it's only for a moment. Be intentional with your pacing. All right, trap number three, unshared ownership. Leaders carrying all the weight instead of empowering the team. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, it's just easier to do it all myself? I will say that everybody in Next Step Collective should raise their hand because I know these people very well and they've all done it for sure, right? It's just easier. It's just easier. I think I've had a conversation with everybody here, including myself in the mirror, about it's just easier to do it myself. Why am I talking to these people? Why? Why am I going to go slow with them? I could have been done. We could have been way further down the road. What are we doing? Well, that thought might feel efficient, but the reality is you're setting yourself up for failure, and it's actually your first sign that you're bottlenecking your team. Is that like, do you feel convicted? Do you feel convicted a little bit? Just a smidge that you're the bottleneck? So when leaders don't share ownership, teams disengage. They stop thinking, they stop contributing, and they stop waiting. They're not looking for you to lead. They know that you're the problem. So guess what teams do? They do workarounds. And those workarounds can either be effective or ineffective. But if they're ineffective, that also starts that disengagement. If they're effective, that also keeps disengagement. Why? Because now there's no value for you because you're the bottleneck. So empowerment isn't letting go of control. It's about multiplying capacity. Gonna say that one more time so you can go write it down. Empowering isn't about letting go of control. It's about multiplying capacity. You want to reproduce what you've sown. And if you are sowing good things into good people, guess what you multiply? Good things and good people. And you expand capacity, not just of the organization, not just of the team, but also of yourself. Also of yourself. We want to remind you that your job isn't to do all the work, it's to design a system that gets the work done. Design the system that gets the work done. Nikki and I, you guys know, we have a company called Aretta Elaine, and one of our first t-shirts, I think it even came from one of our senior pastors at the church we attend saying it, but we have a shirt that says systems serve souls. Because we know that when good systems are in place, people are at peace. Just build the system and execute it. You will gain great reward and a high return on your investment. All right, so here's a little bit of homework for you. I want you to do it right now, even though I know you're fully engaged and listening and you're ready to hear Eric, who is our next voice. But here's what I want to ask you. I want to ask you some questions. What are some of the traps that you fall in? Do you fall in all of them? Do you fall in one of them? Let me name them again for you real quick. Unclear communication, unrealistic pacing, unshared ownership. Which one of those traps, or maybe multiple of those, that you fall into? So why don't you write that down? And then take a second to think about it. And if you're, as you're listening to this, I want you to think about how that is showing up in your life. So you named the trap, but now how does it look in behaviors? How does it look in consequences of those behaviors? Maybe even this week, take some time and journal about it. Because, friends, awareness is the first step to alignment. So take some time and think about that. And now it's not all bad. All right. We kind of set the tone for you of what we're talking about, but now Eric's going to equip you with some strategic tools for leading through change. Eric?
Indeed. Thanks, G. So before I step into the part that I'm going to talk about and talk with you about today, y'all know I got to bring the music and the movie quotes. So, fam, when you were teaching, I heard you talked about the fire, right? And so what I heard was Usher, let it burn. Sometimes you got to let it burn. Sometimes it's just like that. In a sports perspective, sometimes, and this happened to the Miami Dolphins this weekend, and I ain't trying to throw shade, babe, but it happened to Penn State for 3 weeks in a row. You got to let the tape burn. You got to take the tape and you got to throw the tape away. And it's like, oh man, we never want to speak of this game no more forever, or this thing forever. You got to let it burn. And then it reminds me as well of Batman, the not the Dark Knight Rises, but the second one, when he says some men can't be bargained or anything bargained with or anything like that. They just want to watch the world burn. Now that's a different type of burning that the Joker wanted to do. Nevertheless, Fam's point was and it's salient because you just got to let it burn. And then as you were talking and teaching us, G, I thought about stars with one name, and then that's going to kind of lead me into what I'm going to talk about here for a few minutes here. One, I thought about it's easier to do it yourself. How many of us heard auntie, grandmama, big mama say, we in the kitchen, we trying to help, right? And then they say, oh, let's get out of here. Let me do it myself. Because for them, it's easier for them to do it themselves, to go ahead and because they've been doing it for years or decades, whatever it may be. Meanwhile, sometimes what they don't realize is they're losing generations of people who, their kids and grandkids who can then carry on those family recipes and those family connections and other things. And so, although it's easier to do ourselves, like G said, you're setting yourself up for the okie doke. And we've all done it. All four of us have done it, like she said. That's why we are all like, yep, it was me. What's the old gospel song? It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Yeah, it's me. It ain't them, y'all. It's me. All right. And so as we start to step into the strategic tools for leading change, there's a 3-part practical framework. And the first part of that is clarify vision. So you want to clarify what's changing and why. Let me say it again for the people in the back. You want to clarify what's changing and why. Okay. And you can think back to grade school, like who, what, where, when, why, and how. Those are still all very important questions to ask when we're talking about using the strategic tools for leading change. In this case, what, as in what is changing, and why is it changing? It's kind of like you're doing an assessment of those things. And so here's a simple test you can use. If you cannot, if you cannot explain it in one line, your people ain't gonna follow it. Let me say it again. Not only ain't your people gonna follow it, your people will not follow it if you cannot explain it in one simple line. And so here's my challenge to anyone watching and listening this, any of you, right? You're sitting there, you chilling in your easy, laid back chair, and you're like, all right, this is good. They dropping the science on me. They dropping science like Craig G. That's old school 80s hip hop. You don't know nothing about that. But anyway, here it is. One thing, the one thing you do. If someone says, well, what do you do? Can you explain that in one word or one line? That hit me recently. I was like, man, what? I know what I do, but sometimes, watch this, it takes me too many time or too long to say it in just a word or two. And so as I thought about it, and I listen, I'm gonna tell y'all the truth for real. I was like, let me ask one of my homies, one of my AI homies. I'm like, hey, based on what you know about me, AI, and I ain't talking about Allen Iverson, but shout out to the Answer AI. If you're watching this, respect for your game, bro. I was like, yo, what? I'm trying to narrow this down for myself. What is it that I do? And here's the thing. I went to Claude. I went to Gemini. I went to Chat GPT. I asked everybody but OPP and Naughty by Nature. I was like, yo, what's the deal? And each one of the, y'all, I know I'm hot. I'm on fire today like NBA Jams, right? Come on, y'all. Anyway, that would cook. Listen, I'm cooking. Let me cook. The one word that they all came back with was clarity. And I was like, yo, that's it. That's what I do. I bring clarity. That's what I do in Watts Leadership. That's what I do in other aspects of my business and life. Clarity. And then I got a chance, watch this, to test it out in real time when I was at my networking event, CG, Connected Grandview. And I said it, and they were the people who were there were like, yeah, man, that is what you do. Clarity. So listen, that one line, that one sentence, or that one word, what is it for you? You do that, and I guarantee you, and yes, I'm putting a guarantee on it. I guarantee you things will, watch this, start to get more clear for you. Your vision will be clarified. Secondly, simplify the steps. You want to break this change into 2 to 3 actionable steps. Now you can write down 50, 11 million things and have like, I got a whole process. I got 10 steps in my 10, 15 step, 20 step program. Eric, I got it. Yeah. And then you're struggling because you don't got it. You ain't got it. You do not have it. You want to break it down into 2 to 3 actionable steps. That one will be easy for you to articulate to someone else in a very clear manner. And also, they're easy for you to remember. Simplify those steps. Listen, you know how you eat. What's the old adage? You know, how do you eat an elephant? One small bite at a time. One small step every day towards this thing that you're doing will help you to be able to simplify those steps and get that clarity here. And then thirdly, you want to build accountability. G talked about it. Fam talked about it too. She didn't use the word accountability, but it was showing up in there. You want to create checkpoints and feedback loops. And listen, these are people who have to be in. These can't be people who you kind of know and they kind of know you. They got to be in. Like they got to be in your inner circle. They got to be Peter, James, and John. I guess that would make you Jesus. But if you're uncomfortable with being Jesus, you can be somebody else. But anyway, they got to be that intimate circle where they're going to keep it funky fresh with you. They're going to keep it real with you and tell you like, yo, here's what it is. For real accountability. Accountability sometimes sounds like a bad word and has sounded like a bad word to any of us who've lived any amount of life at all and gone through some stuff. You're like, accountability, I don't want that. That means if I do that, then people are going to be all up in my stuff, all up in my business. And I don't want people up in my business. Well, let me ask you this. Do you want to live a life of significance? Let's go deeper. Do you want to help somebody? Do you? Do you have goals for yourself? If you do, accountability is necessary. It is absolutely necessary. And those feedback loops, That doesn't mean echo chambers. That doesn't mean folk who make you feel good. That means feedback loop people who are going to give you, tell you the truth and give you, watch this, not what you want to hear, but what you need. And also bringing other people in to get those other voices so you can hear them as well. So a real life example real quick of how a leader turned a chaotic transition into a growth. It takes me back to my corporate days, and I came into the mutual funds world as a part of a conversion. And I was very blessed to have very good leaders at that point in my career. Didn't always have them, but I had them then. And they took all of that chaos that was going on as a part of this conversion. We were converting mutual funds from one mutual funds house to now our back office, so to speak, so we could service all these other funds. And it was going to be complete chaos. And it was. And me being new to the business, I was like, man, this is crazy. But fortunately, my leaders were able to say, listen, we came in as a part of a different conversion. This is what it's going to look like. This is how it's going to go. Watch this. This is what you should anticipate. And this is how you're going to handle these specific things. So that put my mind at ease. There were still challenges because I was new and I was learning. Nevertheless, that put my mind at ease so I could say, okay, they watch this. I forget which one of either you, G, or Fam, you mentioned it, a framework. It gave me a framework to operate off of to say, oh, that's what this is going to be. And this is how this is going to be, watch this, a growth opportunity for me, for my teammates, or anyone who was choosing to grow at that point. Here's the key line I want you to remember from this. Change unmanaged leads to burnout. Change managed leads to breakthrough. Let me say it again, and I'm going to pass it on to, well, actually, it's all of us. We're going to hop in here in a minute. Change unmanaged leads to burnout. Change that is managed leads to breakthrough. So now that I'm done, we're all going to hop in here and watch this. Next Step Collective is going to share with you collective wisdom. I know, I'm here all week. Thank you very much. I know, I can't help it. It's what I do. So who wants to step in here first? I believe it's you, bruh.
Yeah, I appreciate that. He talking about some collective wisdom. Y'all listen, I am thinking about the collective wisdom of this team and how this team has actually helped me get to where I am at today. And I'm glad to share just quickly a personal practice that really works for me, around reflection and framing. I am really big on journaling. That's funny because somebody in this room bought me this journal. I wonder if they remember it, Gina. And I use a certain journal to do some reflecting. It's right here on my desk daily about my practices when it comes to me keeping up with all the moving things and all the nuances that are happening in life. Catch this. It's in life, not just in work. It's not just a rolling hat I wear at the office. It is who I am all day long as a human being, that all those things play a role into me having to reflect and to make sure that I am doing the things I need to do, to be the leader that I know I can be, and to show up in the way that I want to show up for my team and the people around me. There's a question that I asked, and it's written across the top alongside of some other notes for me that's in here, and it says, what's really shifting here? What's really shifting here? And I have some follow-up questions that's behind that. Is it my mindset? Is it dynamics of the team? Are there changes? I heard a phrase in a meeting a couple weeks ago that says change is the new constant, and it hit me hard, y'all. Change is the new constant, and yes, that is happening in life for sure, right? But what is really shifting here? Because sometimes we try to identify things with the old tools that we have that we think might apply to a certain situation, but it might not apply to the circumstance that you're in at that time. So what is really shifting here? Is it your mindset that needs to change? These are the questions I'm asking myself. Those mirror conversations. I forget which one of us told that we got to get in that mirror, had a conversation with ourselves too. Is it the thing? Is it that I just don't want to do this? Did something change in the way that I'm working, in the way that I show up? Because guess what? You better guarantee yourself and know that people around you are seeing it's changing in the way that you lead. And leadership is not a title that you have to have. We are all leading from every seat that we are in on whatever team that we are on. And it's important that we show up well. So I reflect in a journaling practice, and then I follow up for the framing part with an amazing thing that everybody should have. If you don't have a coach, call us. We're here. We're available. We got you. Hello, that wasn't just a plug. That's the truth. We're here. We're available. We got you. But you got to have some accountability. You got to have some people who can come alongside of you and help hold that mirror up for you when you don't think you can. You got to have some honest reflections, because you really got to think about what's really shifting here. I'm gonna pass this to Nikki and see what she has as a personal practice on her end.
Yeah, I'm actually going to stay with accountability for a second. Because when I think about staying centered through change, right? Like keeping myself centered, managing change as best that I can, I think about like self-awareness is really important to me, like being aware of like what do I do when I'm reacting? What do I do when I'm not handling change well? And accountability is a big piece of that because I know some of my signs, but also everybody in this call and some other folks know some of my signs. And so it's being willing to be held accountable to say, "Hey, Nick, we're kind of noticing this in you. Like, are you okay? Are you being, are you reacting? Or are you managing?" One example that comes to mind is my brother, Mr. Gilmore, walking down the hall, and very quietly, he's a lot taller than me, but he leans down. And he's like, "If you don't fix your face." But like, and that's a silly thing, but sometimes it's like being willing to be held accountable, like, "Hey, you're working a lot at home." That's one of my tells when I'm doing too much or when I'm not managing change well, right? Or for me, it could be like, "Oh, when's the last time I actually took a lunch break?" Don't know. What's that? Do we take those? It could be constant multitasking. That's another one for me when I just can't put things down. And so, like, why do I have three monitors on my desk? I do, but it also feeds that like constant multitasking. So, for me, staying centered through change is being aware of those signs in myself, being willing to be held accountable to them, but also recognizing them. And when they happen, it's one thing to recognize, it's another thing to actually respond, right? So it's like, oh, I'm multitasking too much or all the time, or I'm taking work home or all these things. Let me step back. It's that controlled burn thing, right? Like, what can I let kind of burn for a minute so that I can clarify my priorities and I can get kind of recentered and reoriented into what I need to do to manage this change well. So for me, staying centered is one practice for me is just being aware of my signs when I'm not doing well, and then talking it out so I can get sort of reoriented again. So that's for me. Gee, I wonder, when you're thinking about something that helps stay centered through change, what comes to your mind?
So good. So good. Yeah, that it's one thing to recognize, it's another thing to respond. That's it's a t-shirt. It's a t-shirt. Don't anybody take it. Um, for me, it's boundaries and learning to say no and realizing saying no is not like a punishment to someone. It's allowing you to be in alignment, you know? Uh, I don't know if anybody watching is someone who has a hard time with saying no. It might bring up for you a lot of stuff, a lot of things like formationally that has come up in your life. Maybe you were always the good kid and you were rewarded for never saying no and always performing and always doing. Um, maybe you're someone who like the opposite was true. Maybe you grew up around people who like constantly said no and you didn't like that feeling. And so now you do the opposite, right? Whatever it is, a lot of things that we're talking about often are rooted in how we are formed in various stages of our life. Some way back to childhood, some might be related to an event that triggered it, So part of my story I've shared with you guys is being a teen mom. And I could point to a lot of things from that time in my life that are reasons why I was who I was for periods of time, or even some of the things that I am now. That's why we offer coaching. That's why each of us have our own unique perspective and spend time with folks, helping them navigate all of those things, the things that have formed us, the things that have shaped us. And really, it's just about spending time with us and and allowing us into your life to ask you questions as you walk this journey. Having somebody to talk to and explore what next steps is really a value that I can't put a price on personally. I've had coaches, I've had mentors, I've had therapists, I've had spiritual directors, and they have been such a gift to me. So when you think about boundaries and saying no, sometimes it's helpful to have somebody that's outside of your circle, somebody that is not in your working environment, not in your family, not in your friend circle to help you see the value of you saying no. Boundaries often get a bad reputation. We think they make us less available or less caring, but the truth is boundaries are not barriers, friends, they're guide rails. They're guide rails. They keep us on our mission. They keep us from mission drifting. Oftentimes we find ourselves saying yes to things that actually put us right in the middle of chaos and take all of our energy, make us more scattered in our thinking and our doing, and then we're not even completing the things that we said that we value. A lot of times when I've done workshops with folks, we ask them to, and Nikki and I have done them together, and I've actually done them with everybody on this call in various formats. But there's sessions that I do specific to values. I get people to name values and then to define them and then to create working agreements around them. So, anyways, um, what I found in a couple of times I've done these workshops and then gone back and worked with people, the things that they said were value to them actually aren't. They don't behave in a way that they're valuable. They don't believe that they're valuable. They're just something that they've said are valuable to them. And so when you have boundaries, when you have guardrails, you create that structure. You create that infrastructure for you that you can hold your values true, that you can make sure that you're living them out in your behaviors, and that your habits reflect these values that are important to you. So I think it's just really important that you fear not, fear not about saying no. Say no maybe more often. Be real clear about who you are, what your values are, what your mission is in this life. Like Kevin said, he's not just reflecting and journaling about who he is at work or who he is at home separately. He's reflecting about who he is as a total person. And that's true for your boundaries too. Yeah. All right. So, Eric, you're going to share. You're going to wrap us up with what is something that is important to you that you want our
Right.
friends to take away.
Cool. Fourth on the mic, you know that's me, Eric James. Drop the mic for the symphony. All right, here we go. So, action and recalibration. You want to build rhythms for review. Action and recalibration. You want to build rhythms for review. Y'all know, you listening and watching, I'm a golfer. I love to golf. I'm sad because summer has long since been over. Fall is kicking in, but I will play golf as long as it's 40 and sunny. Believe that. 40 and sunny, I'm in. And as long as I got that little bit of sun, I'm out. If it's sunny or if it's not sunny, if it's cold, like below 40 and cloudy, I'm out. And I bring the golf example up because of this. So I got to quick click in this pen. Action and recalibration, building in that rhythm. When I'm playing golf or when I was first learning to play, I was like, man, okay, I'm playing and I'm not very good because most people aren't good when you first learn to play. And most people don't get good because we don't practice, right? But I started to develop a plan of action for what I wanted to do. And I decided that, watch this, I decided that I wanted to be a good golfer. Golf is fun for me because I love being outside and I love being in God's creation. It's more fun for me when I'm playing well. Don't get it twisted. I'm not to throw my clubs in the water, break my clubs, say a bunch of cuss words. That ain't me. I ain't that golfer. I'm like, oh man, it just ain't my day. All right. I'm just out for the walk. But when I decided that I wanted to be better, I started to put a plan in place. I started to write down my three best shots from every round, right? I had a journal. I probably got it around here if I was to look a little further. I started writing those, at least my three best shots. I started to practice physically 20 minutes a day or so, just in the backyard, not driving to the driving range. I got a net set up and I would just hit different types of shots. All right. And then I started to work on the mental aspect of my game because golf is a mental game. I'm telling you right now, you can be the biggest, strongest woman in the world, man in the world, and be like, I'm gonna crush this ball. That little white ball will humble you. You feel me? So I had to start working on my mental game. I had to start visualizing what I wanted to do. And as I did that, I was like, oh, I watched this. This is good. I realized I was building a rhythm for me to review of when I went out to play golf. Before I went out, okay? I created this rhythm of this is what I'm doing. This is my process. This is my story. This is my song. This is my process. This is my rhythm. And as I stayed to that or stuck to that, I started to get better. I was like, oh, okay. And so now I still do the same things now. This was, I don't know, 2, 3 years ago that I started to do this. I do the same things now. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm a much better golfer than I was 2 or 3 years ago. Not great. I ain't ready to join the LIV or PGA, not this year, but catch me next year. I might be ready. Um, Nevertheless, I'm better than I was because I paid attention to those rhythms. I reviewed them, right? And so maybe something in your life, in your business, at home, at work, you're trying to figure out what is the rhythm here. And I hear Cool Runnings, and I'm fighting the urge to say it, but y'all can say it for me. Maybe there's something, and I'm sure there is something that you need to say, man, where's the rhythm for me? I need to recalibrate this thing. All right. I encourage you to, whether it's a journal or digitally or paper, we all four of us, we like paper, even though I kind of clown them a little bit for paper. I still like paper too. If you like paper, get your paper and write your stuff down. If your paper ain't your thing, get your phone, your notepad on your device and get that stuff down and see what your rhythms are. Here's another metaphor for you. It's fall in this part of the world. We're all in Central Ohio. Shout out to Columbus 614. It's fall. The leaves are changing. It's mamas and the papas, anybody? All the leaves are brown and the sky. That's right. That's right. And the skies are gray, except today they're sunny. I've been for a walk on a winter's day, but anyway, all the leaves are orange and green, still some, and tan and brown and yellows and reds. Oh my. And so what are the trees doing? The trees are prepping. They're getting ready for what? The trees are going to die. They're not going to die. They're going to lie dormant for a few months. They're still, you say, come on, this is really good. The trees are going to lie dormant just for a little bit, but they ain't dead. It looks like it. But come March, you let that first little bit of warm weather hit and you start to see little green leaves, little green buds. And then a little blast of snow comes in and it's like, oh man, where did it go? But watch this, the leaves, the buds are still there. They're still green because it's time for something new. All right. So with the fall season and the leaves dropping and the trees prepping, that doesn't mean change doesn't mean that it's chaos, it's preparation. The trees are preparing just to go to sleep for a little while. What are you preparing? What are you preparing for? What are you preparing for in the next phase of your business, your life, your ministry, whatever it is? What are you preparing for? You got to be getting ready for something. And so this is why we're challenging you and encouraging you to have a plan, to have a strategy. Whereas, as my Will Ferrell would say, strategery. You got to have some strategery in place. And then finally, you want to reframe. And so what does reframe mean? It means rest. Rest and back to rhythm. Rest and rhythm are a part of the strategy, the strategery, not a break from it. Rest and rhythm are a part of the strategy, not a break from it. Before I flip it back to bruh and fam, y'all check this out. Some of you have said it. I'm pretty sure all of us have said it. I'm a rest when I'm dead. That is one of the dumbest things you could ever say. And I mean it just like that. I'm a rest when I'm dead. Listen, your body needs rest. Your soul needs rest. Okay? You need to rest. If you ain't getting the kind of rest you need, yes, rest at night, but just resting from some things. You see, you're so busy. I can't go here, but I'm going to say it real quick. You're so busy trying to arrest these things, right? You can't rest. You're trying to arrest everything all around you. But that stuff, it ain't for you to arrest. It's for somebody else to handle. So you got to find the rest that you need. Get the rest that you need so you can ride the rhythm, identify the rhythm, and ride the rhythm. All right. I'm going to turn it over to the two of y'all to talk about the CTA, call to action, for those who don't know what CTA is and what we got coming up for November.
I am excited about November, and he's right. I'm not going to tap into it. He says some of y'all want to rest when you're dead. Some of y'all are dead walking because you haven't got no rest. So we're going to leave that alone. That's another teaching.
Well,
Hey, come and see.
well,
So as we recap for today we moved from clarity to strategy. There was a whole bunch of strategies that we had in place. Don't forget the journaling. Go back and play it again in the areas and pause it so you can write down and reflect on the strategic tips and the highlights and everything that was given to you as we're moving from clarity to strategy. And there's two simple takeaways Right before Nikki shares, our November in-person event is coming up. Here's the first takeaway. Here's the first takeaway. I want you to two simple ones. Write a one-line vision, excuse me, for your current change. What is a one-line vision for your current change? I do a lot of work with people in personal development and emotional intelligence. I tell them find one thing to work on, one thing to start with. Don't try to do it all at once. Do the one thing. So what's that one-line vision for your current change? And then name one pitfall you will avoid this week. What's that one pitfall that you want to avoid this week so you don't fall back into old habits that were unhealthy to start with anyway? All right, Nikki, what's coming up? I'm excited. What's coming up for us?
In November, mark your calendars for November 12th. It's a Wednesday evening. We are going to be in person, so we're very excited about that. We're going to have an event to take this just a little bit further. So we've talked about managing change and all of that. We want to spend some time in November talking about renewing and refueling and avoiding burnout, because y'all, the holiday season is coming. And a lot of times it can be one of those seasons that it's like, oh, we love it, but it's busy, and we love it, but it's a lot. What if we just love it and it's not a lot and we don't have to burn out in it? So we would love to invite you to come out with us. We're going to put the link in the show notes here so you can click and register. Come spend some time with us. We only have 25 seats, so don't wait. Click, register, come and join us, have some good food, have some good networking, spend some time with us while we talk about renewing and refueling and avoiding burnout this holiday season. So we hope to see you there. And I think that wraps us up. Fam, take us home.
All right, November 12th, we want to see you there. Like Spam said, it's going to be good food. You get to see us in person. It's like, yo, they real. I can touch them. But you don't want to touch us without asking us. You don't want to touch me without asking me, because I might chop you in the neck. I'm just playing. I got love. I love you like a play cousin. All right, November 12th. Before we get there, thank you today for joining us. We do not take it for granted that you could have been doing lots of other things. Even if you watched the replay, you could have been doing something else. You took the time to get with us and watch us, and I appreciate it. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. So now I'm going to tell you how you can connect to Next Step Collective. Website, www.joinnextstep.com. That's www.joinnextstep.com. Email 321nextstep@gmail.com. 321nextstep@gmail.com. Our YouTube channel. Listen, you could go and change your whole life for the better by going to watch our YouTube channel. And I mean it just like that. And I'm saying it with my chest. And I ain't even going back down like Tom Petty, because it's the truth. I mean, you could change your whole life, your whole business, relationships by going to watch what we have on that YouTube channel, our YouTube channel. Instagram. You want to highlight us on the gram? They still call it the gram? I'm going to call it. His mama call him Clay. I'm going to call him Clay. Instagram, Next Step Collective. That's who we are. Next Step Collective. And on Facebook as well, we are Next Step Collective. All right. Thank you again for joining us. We appreciate it. Respect you for that. So this is how we're going to wrap it up. I want you to get your pens out. Now you're like, man, I'm tired of taking notes, Eric. Y'all told us too much good stuff. You don't have to get your pens out. I'm just messing with you. Again, I love you like a play cousin. So thank you for joining us. This is the Friday Plan and Expand, even though we ain't recorded on a Friday, letting you behind the scenes. Now you know. But this is the Friday Plan and Expand, powered by Next Step Collective. So remember, without vision, we talked about vision today. Without vision, action is just a wish, or vision without action is just a wish. So take that next step and make sure it is your best step. Until next time, peace.